Hey, this is Corey, Peace on the Street. I'm a huge Mimi Mala fan, and my platform is about making a difference and help people for about 10 to 12 years now. Actually, it feels like 12 or 13. I've been making videos trying to make a difference. When I was growing up, I got bullied a lot. I remember I got so bullied so hard. I had a lot of negative anxiety, depression. I really wanted to make a difference. I first joined an anti-bullying club, which really helped my anxiety and depression. And then I went on to trying to create a website, a blog, but apparently that didn't work as well. But I never gave up. I mean, I was a boy born with 24 surgeries. Just born with 24 surgeries. So I strived mentally and physically all by myself, punching the punching bag, motivating myself. And now I know this show had a lot of controversy, but I watched a series called The Ellen Show. It was back in the day. It was a really inspiring, motivational story about one episode called Talia Joyce. I'm also a little bit of a close friend to the big sister who runs her organization now. She passed away, but I was so motivated and moved by Talia Joyce's story, surviving through cancer and making videos, that I was like, hey, you know what? I can make a video. I could do a YouTube channel just like her. And that's what I did for 10 to 12 years to this day. I struggled with a lot of social anxiety and depression to a point where I had to let it out. And with all my feelings and all my social anxiety, I loved also showing how video games can be motivational in a way to cope through anxiety and depression, and how it can correlate throughout the world and coping with that as well. Like for example, it's pretty scary in the world with but anyway, I remember doing these videos. I loved writing. I also wrote my stories. I'm also working on publishing them now with Amazon and my friend Anne. I've been doing this for 12 years, and I have spoke out motivationally and exponentially on mental health, how to strive through social anxiety and depression, give tips on how video games can help cope, and what else negative. I am very much against Call of Duty. I used to play it. It really hurt my head, like mentally. It gave me a lot of negative thoughts of shooting. And I never played Grand Theft Auto, actually I did through my friends, but my mom never let me play Grand Theft Auto in my life. I remember struggling with depression and anxiety so bad that I really needed therapy, and I'm still having therapy to this day, and it's really good for you, trust me. I love creating stories, but I also love talking about it exponentially through my YouTube channel on LGBTQ community. I'm also very much supportive on the LGBTQ community. My Uncle Rick and Uncle Sean are huge advocates on HRC, Human Rights Committee, right here in Ohio. And I have struggled, and they've helped me. They were like father figures to me, because I grew up with father issues. I had an abusive relationship with my father. That's also what drove me through my mental illness. through my social anxiety and depression. I really strived through the negative thoughts, suicide thoughts and depression and negative. I really strived through those thoughts, not just on my own, but through my uncles and my family, some of my family members, my aunt, my uncle, my cousins. So I really motivated myself to really talk about heavily on my YouTube channel on mental illness and how video games can be both good and bad. And I really played good video games that were quality lifestyle video games. Not really M-rated, although there are some M-rated that I would play, but it's not as bad. But I do a lot of how it helps express mental illness. I also love just talking about awarenesses and causes. And I loved having that interview with Peace on the Streets. Mimi Mala was an excellent host on her podcast, or on her radio station. I apologize. I'm so used to being a YouTuber. It's just a podcast when it comes to me, naturally, when you're speaking and motivational on that type of radio platform. That's not even just natural to say podcast. But, yeah, she's really motivational. Mimi Mala, she's excellent motivational speaker on mental health and God and religion and exception. And for those who've had abusive religious relationships with people who are, against LGBTQ community, don't worry. She's very supportive on the LGBTQ community, and she's all about love and acceptance. I myself was on her, like I said before, I was a host or a guest on her podcast, and she was really kind and loving, and so were her friends, and it was really just supportive and acceptance through God, and just talking about how it really helped, how I've really strived and how God has really pushed me. I do pray at night. But yeah, throughout my youth decades, I've really talked about how mental health, through social anxiety, politics, striving with the love and acceptance of LGBTQ community, and the acceptance of people with disabilities and mental health. I used to be also a guest on another radio podcast called The Caden Gordon Show. It's an excellent podcast. You gotta check it out. I'll put the links in the description. Caden was he was also another excellent, loving, supportive, autism acceptance advocate. That was my platform, and I hope a lot of you subscribe. There's also, I would like to mention, there's also tip jars, so if anybody wants to donate a little bit of money, there's also, I have a Patreon account. That's all links in the descriptions in each videos also. Thank you. This is your Corey Daydreamer signing off.